Okay, so as I say, there's some new people. So some of you will have seen this before, but please bear with us because obviously we've got to get everybody up to speed. Uh, so this is just an intro to what we've been doing over the last few years. We've got the work from BIM for Housing's perspective, where we've done quite a lot of feedback into the government, which has been good, and also I think our work has been appreciated by the HSE as well. Um, and one of the things I did want to say is that we're going to be covering, as we always have, the Fire Safety and the Building Safety Act and the legislative side of things, but that isn't our complete focus at all. We want to just, if that's an area that is less of interest to you, maybe smart buildings or something like that is more of interest, then please let us know, because we will be, we're not just dedicated to that side of things, but it's a super critical area that we think a lot of work needs to be done in. Um, if nothing else, because it's actually leading to a lot of projects being delayed because of missing or flawed information. Um, and the Gateway 3 is even more uh, looming. And I think most people will have seen that this one is one where I imagine the finances on this are going to be very tricky. Um, so what we've got BIM for housing, but you're in a BIM in asset management meeting now, which is a far more focused area of the better information management process. And one of the challenges that we're dealing with is that the government and the regulators haven't provided any explicit requirements for information, and they're not likely to either. Um, so what we've got to do is rely on the industry's expertise to interpret what's needed and then recommend that to clients and supply chains. The difficulty is that we've got different experts who interpret the guidance in different ways, and they may have different views as to what the outcomes should be, and therefore they're giving guidance to their customers, which then goes through to the supply chain, which can cause real challenges because they'll have different people saying that they need to provide different information on the same thing. Um, and part of the process of the Golden Thread group that we've got is to act as that, if you like, an intelligent client and to be able to produce reusable data libraries. So for those of you that aren't familiar with BIM for Housing, we've got 6 working groups which are cross-disciplinary in many ways. They're not broken down by architects or QSs or engineers or contractors indeed. They're looking at things from an overall solution perspective. So we've got work streams that carry out, these are task and finish work streams that will then look at, for example, process and come up with an outcome. We've done a huge amount of work on fire safety. Um, we've been doing work on sustainability and also product libraries. So in a way, what we're doing there is gathering together the industry, people from the industry who are subject matter experts, and then getting them to sit around the table, in some cases with competitors, to actually agree what should be done. So we've got 4 workshops next week on some of the safety critical items, 4 roundtable workshops. We're doing them on Teams. So if you're interested in that, then please put safety critical assets down in the chat and we'll let you know about what's happening there. What came out from that work was different stakeholders need different information for different purposes. So what we've done is then gather together as much information as we could from those experts, and we've published it on the BIM for Housing website. And we've got detailed information on a dozen or so safety critical assets. And one of the things we agreed yesterday is we're going to do one on lifts next. So if anybody's interested in lifts, then there's going to be a working group set up or a work stream set up for lifts over the next few weeks. Um, what we've also got is a Miro board where a few of the team have put this together. So they've looked at their interpretation collaboratively of the legislation, and you can access it there. And if you aren't on that list, then just put Miro board into the chat and we'll get you on it. We'll give you access to it. We've also got some specific work streams that have been looking at, for example, something very focused like fire door inspections. And we've built on stuff that came out of the NHS. And we think quite a good guidance document. And we're just releasing one on fire dampers and fire stopping, which is the similar sort of quality. We're doing that with a company called Golden Thread Fire Delay, who have authored a lot of this stuff. And importantly, we've got lots of different software companies involved in the community. And what we really want to do is to get those to be glued together so that we've got something that's all sort of joined up. So I'll hand back to you, Richard, on that. You're on mute, Richard.
Yeah, actually, it'd be quite interesting to know because we are quite big on interconnectivity. If you could put into the chat what software, if you know what software you're using, put SW software, whatever the software is, SW before it so we can find it when we search because there's a lot to go through. So if you can just put SW and whatever software you're using at the moment, if you know, that would be quite helpful.
Yeah, one thing I would say is that one of the things that's really encouraging that I've seen over the last sort of 3 or 4, probably 2 or 3 years, is that far more software companies are working collaboratively. So maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, people would work in silos and they wouldn't really talk to anybody else. Whereas I think the golden thread process now is causing people to work more in that sort of joined up way. So if you are able to let us know which software you're using, then it's going to make it a lot easier to make those connections, as it were. Okay.
Excellent. Right. Just quickly, I'm going to just backtrack on something George said earlier, just to fill in some gaps. A few people have been asking in the chat. Right, as George said, there are 4 meetings next week, roundtables on fire critical assets. Group A is mechanical services, dry wet risers, sprinkler systems. Group B is more ventilation, smoke control, AOV, smoke dampers, fire dampers. Group C is fire doors, penetration seals, fire walls, cavity barriers. And Group D is emergency lighting, fire safety signage, and fire alarm detection. So if you're interested in getting involved in any of those, as George said, put fire critical in the chat and we will get back to you with the appropriate groups. Okay, so we've been running every month, we do a poll on various and sundry subjects, just to get a view of exactly what the people on the ground, the people who are actually doing the work, are finding themselves. I'm not going to do a recap of that because we've picked out some particularly contentious questions that had some surprising answers, and we thought it would be a good idea to sense check that by asking you guys about it. So, Jis, can you put the link into the chat? Just will put the link into the chat. If you could click on that and go to the poll, and then if you can put it up here, Jess. Sorry, we got you using the chat so much. It's just very busy, isn't it? Okay. So if you could click on the link and go to the poll. Right, the first question is, how well does your CEO or FD understand their duties under the BSA? How well? 100%, 75, 50, 25, 10. How well does your CEO or FD understand their duties under the BSA? Question 2. Should the fire and emergency information include a floor plan with the locations of all the safety critical assets? Yes or no? Should the fire and emergency information include a floor plan with information of all the locations of all the safety critical assets? Okay. Question 3. How frequently is that information provided in a form that you're able to validate? 100%, 75, 50, 25. How frequently is that information provided in a form you're able to validate? Okay. Question 4. How easy is it to use and update the fire stopping records delivered by construction? Easy, difficult, impossible. How easy is it to use and update the fire stopping records delivered by construction? Question 5. Do all of your buildings have compartmentation drawings? Yes or no? How do you respond to this? There's Ian, there's a link in the chat that will take you to the poll. Okay, just scroll down. Check for the pinned link. Great. Okay. Question 6. Are you using AI or large language models to check the completeness of handover information, in particular the fire and emergency file? Yes or no? Are you using AI or large language models to check the completeness of handover information, in particular the fire and emergency files? Okay, question 7. Should fire risk assessments include checking above ceilings and in risers? Yes or no? Should fire risk assessments include checking above ceilings and in risers? And the last one, is an asset list required to, sorry, I can't read it, so small. Is an asset list required to satisfy the BSR Gateway 3 submission? Yes or no? Is an asset list required to satisfy the BSR Gateway 3 submissions? Okay, we'll have a look at those and get those compiled and hopefully report back to you on those later in the meeting. So now we can go to George. Are you starting off the Golden Thread Task Force?
I am, yeah. And hopefully Barry and Matt can contribute to this, but I'm going to start it off. So the Golden Thread Task Force, we've now got over 100 people and organisations involved in it, and what we're doing there is trying to promote this Golden Thread Aware process. So if you're interested in becoming part of the consulting group, as it were, then drop Golden Thread Task Force in the chat, and we'll come back to you to let you know what needs to be done. What we're trying to do is create a marketplace, really, of people that where clients can come to with a need, and also they can then engage in a safe way with experts who have actually been working together to come up with some tested solutions. So we end up with something that is then validated. Um, and part of the process of that is then to tie in the different software applications of people that are members of the group, because most of the software companies are in part of it, to maybe look at specs and standards, reality capture, inspection applications, and things like that. So that then becomes joined up. So that's the sort of thing that we're trying to do with the task force. Um, and understanding needs. So, for example, having a common way of interpreting what the golden thread actually means. So, for example, one of the key things that we've identified from the experts is that you really need to look at the building as a complete system, made up of lots of systems, and they all need to be able to work together. So I won't apologize for the fact that I'm showing this many times because I think it's important that we get this over. That if a fire breaks out in a kitchen, we need to ensure that the smoke that maybe is generated from that doesn't get into that stairwell. And the way in which that's done is through much better quality or good quality compartmentation, which means not just whether the fire doors are good, but also the whole of the compartment needs to be robust. So, if, for example, penetration seals aren't robust and in place, then you may as well not have bothered. Um, and also, and in fact, yeah. So we've got smoke control systems, detection systems, and all of those need to be able to work together. So from a software point of view, we need to make sure that if there's a BIM model, that the information that's come through from that in terms of what's actually been installed, what product's been installed, and also what's that door doing, it's part of a compartment. And then if there's a range of different software applications that are being used to do inspections, rather than just recording the inspection, we need it to tie back to the individual asset. So if there's a range of different software then being used, we can make sure that it's all coherent. And the various different software companies are now working with us to achieve that goal. What's often also the case is that clients don't understand fully what their responsibilities are under the fire and emergency file. So, for example, we need to ensure that they understand, and this is part of an educational exercise, I think, to make sure they understand that they need to have a plan that indicates where all of the fire critical assets are. And also, from that point of view, they need to, there's now a duty, a legal requirement that's actually been around for a long time, but it's now being more rigorously questioned and enforced that a client needs to be able to say that they've got all the information that they need at handover to keep the building safe. And the same with the contractors. The contractors have to guarantee that they've provided all that information. Now, the irony with that is that it's probably coming from half a dozen different sources, and it may not be glued together. So that's the sort of thing that we're trying to work to. And we've come up with this way of maybe doing a simple check to make sure that you've got the right information just at a basic level of what the asset is, which system it's part of, and what's it doing, what product's been used. So this is one example of that, because what we're trying to do with the Golden Thread Task Force is have evidence of bring together things that work. So this, for example, the fire damper, if there's a fire, this duct, I understand, could collapse, and it could, unless there's a breakaway joint, it could pull that out the wall. So what we're doing here, we've got a range of different software applications all glued together. And therefore, what we're doing is tying together the locational information, also the product information, the installation information, so that that can be validated and checked in a more joined up way. So this is one example of a golden thread working between a range of different software applications and also service providers. So in this particular case, we've got the dampers are then located in the wall, so you can see which wall they're in. The wall can be checked to make sure it's got the right status, it's the right substrate for that particular damper. But also the 360 photographs can then automatically take you to the that particular asset. And it's that sort of joined up work that we think is going to make a real difference. And finally, this is also connecting back to the documentation. So part of the golden thread is obviously information about the specification and the product information, but also a lot of information can get buried in documents. There's also some good examples here that we're collecting that people are doing. So there's now a requirement as well as the secure information box. There's a need for an emergency response plan. So this is one example of that, where a company called Light for Life have been doing this for their clients. So this is the information that is being presented, which I think is particularly strong from that point of view. And what we're then doing is moving on to collaborative projects. So what we want to do is encourage people to um, bring together the information that they've got on existing projects. So here, for example, gathering together all the Regulation 38 documentation, spatial models, and then maybe, if appropriate, bring in digital twins, but don't start with the digital twin, start with the basics. This is one that Ridge are leading on at the moment. This is for Tower Hamlets, and they're doing scans of the buildings using LiDAR, and they've now completed it. This is taking a couple of years to achieve, and there's probably another 12 months to go with it. But they've got a plan, and within the budget that the council can afford, it means that they're able to then do this in a gradual way, and then use that to actually go and identify, for example, where the compartments are, and also what assets are in place that are actually managing that process. So the use of 360 photographs is a good way for us to work collaboratively and open this out to the wider market of experts and get experts to actually provide that information. So in this case, in this lobby area, it means that you can have maybe a specialist in lifts. I think we're going to have several of those joining the group now. So it means that we've got that as an asset list that everybody can work to. And the next project that we're doing with them this is Watney Market, which I'm going to get Barry just to say a few words about. This is Watney Market, which is a 19. Well, in fact, Barry, do you want to just speak to this for a moment?
Barry's not on the call, George.
Ah, okay. Okay, that's
Which
well,
well,
Can you hear me
while
now?
which map were you talking
Barry?
about?
Barry, Matt
Yeah.
Wilkie.
It's Barry. Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, this is a project that we're working on down at Tower Hamlets, and it's sort of like it's almost like a worst case scenario of a brownfield site where there's an awful lot of missing documentation or documentation that's spread around. We have to consolidate all that. So this particular project is we're using this as to try and develop a gold standard of what housing associations and the people should be asking for when they go out to commission survey documentation. So this is a sort of well, we're going to be using a mixture of drone footage, 360 imagery, 3D models to generate drawings. That the main driver for in this particular case is fire. In this particular case, is fire risk assessment. But of course, once you've got the 360 imagery and visual representation, or visual asset register, if you like, then you can use it for all sorts of different things. We could use it for well, there's disability access, sustainability, and lots of different disciplines can use it once you've got it. In this particular case, the driver really is to do a fire risk assessment, because this is seen as one of the higher risk projects or buildings that are around. It's a market with an underground car park with a block of residential flats on the top of it. It's very complicated. So we're going to be using this as a driver to try and come up with a gold standard that hopefully people can copy and paste and use as an exemplar to see what can be done. Some interesting things we're doing on this, like using different types of data capture, but also the idea of using common target points. So in the future, you can go back and resurrect and establish photographs or images from the same positions that you took them for, because in many cases you're looking to see what is the degradation or changing condition, but you can't do that unless you know the photographs or where the photographs are taken. So that's what we're going to be doing over the next few months, and the idea really is to share this with the community and put it out for comments, but also to try and come up with a gold standard for any of these projects, trying to future-proof it. Does that make sense, George?
Yeah, very, very much so. So if you are maybe a surveyor or any of those disciplines and you're interested in becoming part of it, just put Watley Market in the chat, please. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Richard now.
Okay, right. So has anybody got any questions on what George has had to say so far?
Nick.
Anybody got any questions? Dustin.
So I've been trying to hold back for a while now, and I thought I would wait till the end, but let me just put it out there anyway. As a principal designer, I'm always looking at ensuring the information we gather through the pre-construction phase and then through construction phase and then into the access and maintenance strategy, the residual risk information, how do we convey and how do we pass it on through to the client? Now, at Tetra Tech on our bigger projects, we use I've developed a BIM family in Rivet that includes parameters which would be the same information that would be in the residual risk register. With all this information that we're doing now, which I think is incredible, I love it to bits, how can we flag up residual risks from this information to include in the risk register, or are you keeping it separate? You know, if an air handling unit goes down or something happens which can affect the safety and health and safety of the resident or the facilities management team, is there any way of linking that to the risk register, or does it strictly relate back to the drawing, or what sort of a link is there, or should I just keep quiet and wait for you to tell me later?
No, I think we can answer that. We've got there's several different software companies that are also working as part of the consortium who do exactly that. And also the 360 photographs allow you to pick those things up very quickly and easily. So that's part of it, Dustin, that we can pick up with you. I mean, we're working with Tetra Tech on some of these things already. I don't know if you're aware of that, but we can pick up on that. But that's a really good point. And obviously, if there's a model, then that can clearly be done as well. There's work going on to that. Nick.
Two things. Just to follow up on that last point. ISO 19650 Part 6 has got quite a lot to say about the information that should be communicated about risk, and proposes a data schema to help people do that. And along with the Uniclass RK risk classification table, I think there's quite a lot of hints on getting that done. what I wanted to ask the group is, how does all this information relate to demonstrating regulatory compliance? Not just the handover of information and so on, but actually demonstrating the requirement that every building element should have a list of all the regulations it complies with, or every regulation, what elements comply with that. I mean, there's conflicting advice from the regulator and the Construction Leadership Council, but how are we doing anything to investigate that demonstration of regulatory compliance?
We're certainly talking with various different people who are providing that type of information, Nick, as PD and I think also as principal contractor. Quite a few people are using the REBA tool to gather that information. And
There's a
we're
difference between
exploring.
gathering information and demonstrating compliance.
Sure, yeah, I don't know the answer, Nick.
Okay,
but yeah,
it's
but
just the building smart regulatory domain is looking at that area, and there might be an overlap. So perhaps we could follow up later, George, on how to do that.
no, absolutely, I'd be welcome. Yeah.
Doesn't the PDBR role demonstrate compliance? Isn't that the point of the building regulations principal designer?
Just having a principal designer doesn't demonstrate anything.
Well, no, the building regulations principal designer, the PDBR.
They're responsible for managing the process, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they will check that the designers are working within the required statutory regulations. And then I'm not really a PDBR, but they would ensure and they would get a declaration from the designer that what they've designed is in accordance with the regulations. Whether it's been built to what's been designed is a different question, but I'll save that for another day.
I think no one's going to accept a self-certification like that. There has to be some evidence. Everything says that you have to have supporting evidence for anything.
Okay.
Okay, right. We're going to need to move on. Just before we do, just on the task force, the Golden Thread task force, we do like people to have a one-to-one, just a quick 15-minute chat with one of our steering group. If you're interested in doing that before you get involved, let's put one-to-one in the chat, and we'll excuse me, we'll arrange that for it's just 15 minutes, but it helps you understand exactly what we're doing there. There's a bit too much to really explain in a meeting during a presentation. So just put one-to-one in the chat for a quick chat. Okay, right. So moving swiftly on.
It's Margaret Saki. No,
Good morning.
Hello, Margaret.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm just going to put a slide up, Margaret, that you can speak to just to explain what we were doing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's there.
Nick, your hand's still up.
I think Nick had a quick question for you. I don't know if you still want him to raise his question. He had his hand up for
I think
a while.
All done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Carry on, Margaret.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to just explain what this was? This was an event that I spoke at last week, or helped with last week, and
couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
oh, in fact, it was. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No. Thank you. It's great to see a wide range of people on the call, and this forum's fantastic. Sorry, forgive me. My I'm just showing a slide of background because I'm actually on the APS conference at the moment, so it's difficult navigating between the two. But I did want to at least confirm to George and I think Richard, you at the conference, the London universities, in conjunction with USHA, the University Safety and Health Association, all safety advisors across all universities across the country, um, managed to put on this conference with the Golden Thread Friday team, wonderful team, plus others, and you can see the sponsors. And we were really pleased that George was able to bring the experience from this forum into this conference, because it was all about practical aspects, and of course surveys, and all trying to get the strength of feeling of the industry in terms of the whole issue of golden thread. But I'm a civil engineer by background, and safety practitioner, fellow Association Project Safety. But I also chair the Institution of Civil Engineers Health and Safety community, and it's changing now into an advisory group. But the main thing is, in the university of where I sit, we've got lots of term contractors, consultants, we've got our in-house DLO and so on and so forth. And we all have to grapple with the Building Safety Act to various degree. Of course, we've got appointed persons, we've got all sorts of people, and we all have to grapple with requirements. But in terms of the golden thread, it's so dear to my heart. I did a project for the Health and Safety Executive called The Importance of the Health and Safety Files. It was about seven years ago. And it's the forerunner to the golden thread, because the health and safety file, as we all know, requirements of CDM regulations, needs to be collated by the end of the project and kept up to date. Well, you and I know not many health and safety files kept up to date. So it was really good news to hear about the golden thread and what it actually is supposed to be and do. And immediately the bill was out, I started to explain to my organisation that we need to adopt the golden thread for everything, not just for the HRBs, but all our buildings. And that is encompassed in our procedures for running projects, so that our maintenance guys and our consultants, ongoing projects, can benefit from that wonderful information from projects, because a lot of projects, some of them didn't end up with health and safety file. Even they did, it was very draft. So going forward, golden thread. So this conference brought together, and we were really pleased to have Dame Judith, keynote speaker in the afternoon. In the morning, the keynote speaker was the expert witness for the Grenfell Inquiry, Professor Jose Durero Cullen, who is the leader for our University College London Civil Engineering and Geomatics department. He leads that department, but he's an eminent fire engineer. And he was able to, from the Grenfell Inquiry, some of you have listened to the inquiry, the summing up, will remember the web of incompetence, or the quagmire of incompetence that he brought. And he highlights the fact that fire safety strategies are key to every building, not just HRBs, every building. And that's the campaign he's been pushing through in UCL. I'm not sure if any UCL people are here, but not to take too much time. The main thing is that the information we get from our projects, the drawings, the fire risk assessment, sorry, the residual hazards from the health and safety file, and information needs to be used in the maintenance operation. We have two examples in UCL, in Dagenham, a great building, award-winning building, net zero building, but we've actually got a model, BIM model, which the hazards are identified in the model, and the hazards are not only used by the maintenance and operations team, the external company, but it's also used by the users of the building, because the building's there for research. And so they use the hazards associated with the model for the research. They put all sorts of equipment into the building and test it for transportation and all sorts of reasons. So the use of the information collated lovingly during our projects and into operations and maintenance is the key to making sure that we not just collate the on thread, but we use it. And Sodexo example that I think George was sharing there just now is another example where, for goodness sake, facilities managers have got enough to do. Why don't we give them the best information we have, which should be the golden thread, and let that be used, and not just used, but kept up to date. If you tell people keep this up to date, they'll do it, won't they? but you've got to tell them, which is why I think, coming back to what George said, the client is key. And I think myself and Nick were on the Powers 92 Part 6 working group, weren't we, Nick's bit, and also the ISO 19650 when it came out, Part 6, in terms of health and safety in BIM. All of that information has got to be used, for goodness sake, and kept up to date. It's a challenge, but listen, it's not impossible, and we should be doing it. So I'm collaborating with my London universities here. We're having a workshop, I think, on the 26th of follow-up from our conference, 26th of September. So follow-up from our conference. If anyone's interested in attending that conference, just let's, well, George will tell you how to do that. George, is that okay?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
No
Just
problem.
put conference in the chat and we'll know.
Universities conference.
Well, you'll be there in a conference, don't worry.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, Ian, you've got your hand up, just quickly.
Yeah, just quickly. Thank you for that. And this is fantastic. This is a fantastic forum. So thank you for the invite, George. I'd just like to highlight a couple of points picking up on the risk element with regards to fire doors, particularly. I am absolutely horrified on LinkedIn to see professionals advocating ad hoc fixes to fire doors that changed the design intent of that fire door. I've seen posts about metal clips being put for intermittent strips, and also the information that's done, so the surveys that are done at initial installation, because we've already picked up on that about how we convey those sort of compliance issues. And I've seen my local hospital in Bolton here had intermittent strips hanging off the doors when it was just opened, and it hadn't been sort of sense checked, if you like. So I've seen it with my own eyes, the gaps in that. So I just want to raise the issue of getting about the importance of having standards and everybody singing from the same hymn sheet, because I have seen professionals on LinkedIn advocating ad hoc fixes to fire doors, which has absolutely horrified me, because it changes the design intent from it being a fire door.
Could I just reinforce that? So one of the most important things I think our community can do is that we've got people like Ian and range of different subject matter experts, and they don't always agree. But the beauty is that we've got a community that can discuss these things properly and then give clients proper advice. Because the other thing, Ian, that certainly I'm getting feedback on is there's a lot of fire doors that are being replaced that don't need to be replaced.
Yeah.
So that's the other side of that particular equation, isn't it? You know, people are
absolutely
doing inspections and they've got another part of their business that's actually replacing things. Alan.
Hello,
Hi, yes, thanks for the
quickly,
opportunity,
Alan, because we
George.
really do need to move on.
Absolutely. I'm just wondering how many people here are aware of the BIM for housing and BIM in asset management reference documents on how to inspect doors and how to risk manage existing doors.
Everyone in the meeting, because George talked about it at the beginning.
Right, sorry for joining.
No, not at all. I'm just saying. Hopefully,
not at all.
I'm sure that hopefully there will be.
But that might give people guidance on this matter.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to skip on, if that's okay, Richard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to let you know that we're not just focused at building safety. We're also engaging now with the smart buildings community. I'm speaking at this conference tomorrow, but there's a really strong group that's been started around the practical use of digital twins. So and how smart can be implemented very cost effectively in buildings as well. So we've got a group together that is looking at that. So if you're interested in smart side of things, we're going to run a workshop of experts in probably 2 weeks' time. So if you just put smart in the chat, we can bring that through. So I'm just going to now call Paul Sheedy. Paul, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks, George. Yeah. George has recommended I probably play a very, very short video because I'll talk for far too long. So, George, if you want to play that quick 2-minute video, and then I'll jump in for a couple of minutes after that because I know we're tight on time.
Okay, I'll put the sound on as well so you can hear the narrative. Is that coming through?
No,
Yeah.
you've got to press play.
In the UK, fire safety remains one of the most urgent challenges for building owners and operators. Tragic incidents have shown the pressing need for smarter, more reliable solutions, without costly large-scale replacements or disruptive reconstruction. This is the mission of FireGuard, the smart fire safety solution developed by Unified. The FireGuard platform from Unified integrates with all major fire alarm control panels and sensors, regardless of model or age. No need for large-scale replacements or construction, just intelligent connectivity that instantly upgrades your existing fire protection system. FireGuard by Unified is designed for simplicity. Installation is quick and efficient, requiring only a small number of additional devices such as gateways, pressure sensors, liquid level sensors, and data collectors. Deployment is fast, disruption is minimal, and costs remain fully under control. With Unified's FireGuard advanced algorithms and big data analytics, our AI engine automatically recognizes building and fire system drawings to generate accurate BIM models. By combining real-time fire alarm data, facility health and operational conditions, we create a live 3D model of your building's fire safety status. The FireGuard Intelligent Assessment Model is built on 38 BSI fire standards and 17 UK fire safety regulations. Every score and recommendation is fully compliant, giving building managers clear, actionable steps for improvement. As an independent, real-time fire risk assessment platform, FireGuard from Unified makes fire safety fully transparent. From monitoring the effectiveness of fire protection systems to verifying the work of inspection and maintenance teams, our platform ensures hidden risks are uncovered before they turn into disasters. The technology behind Unified's FireGuard is already proven internationally. With live deployments abroad, our platform has demonstrated reliability and adaptability across diverse building types and regulatory environments. FireGuard by Unified, the smart, cost-effective, and compliant fire safety solution. Change today for a better tomorrow.
Okay, Paul.
Okay, so basically what we saw there is really where we see our view of where we need to go. So we really think that we've got to get much more to digitalization of everything. So the reason we spent the last couple of years combining all the BSI standards, etc., is that you as the building owner are digitally informed of what's happening, when it's happening, what needs to be done next, what's late. Now, where I'm trying to focus on is getting the insurers to now look at a building that's run correctly and digitally correct in terms of what we deliver, what we call data-driven risk reduction. And once you have your building running correctly, you feed this data to your insurer. And therefore, you take a dumb building, you've made it smart, everything is digitally there, and you save money by having lower premiums. So already overseas, we've had the likes of the biggest insurance company in the world, Ping An, jump on board with this, Pacific and CIPC. And now we're working in the UK to try and get the likes of, AXA, Aviva, Alliance, etc., to realize that on the major buildings are doing, so universities, high-rise risk buildings, that the data is there in real time fully. The other thing we focus on is the real-time evacuation of people. So this is where I feel we're really missing a trick. I'm on the 39th floor of a building right now, and literally there is no data to say I'm here. So should anything go wrong at this moment, there's literally nothing showing this entire building of who is in, on what floor, how many disabled people, etc. We need to change all this and get to a stage where not only is the building being monitored and you know what has to be done and when, you know what's broken, how long it's taken to fix, what has to be done next in terms of checks. But in that one-off, these black swan events, you have what's going to happen in a digital twin how the evacuation's happening, and the fire service, whether it's up in Burnley or London or anywhere else, know what they are looking at. They have a transparent view of the digital twin. They know where people with mobility issues are. They know how fast the evacuation is happening. They know whether they should go in or whether they should stay out and let the building evacuate rapidly before they go in. This is what we're trying to bring. We're trying to bring this digitalization, this insight to really deliver what we call, as I said before, data-driven risk reduction. And I think it's time we all collaborated and take our various pieces and get into bed together and make a big change. And this isn't a step change. This is a fundamental digitalization of where we need to go, in my view.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, so what we're trying to do within the Golden Thread group, and Paul's been involved in it for well, since it started. We want to bring solutions to the table that people can consider. And I think Matt from Trigger, are you on the call at the moment? Matt from Trigger? They may not be. Okay.
Sorry, yes, I am. Sorry.
Sorry, Matt.
Just couldn't find my screen.
I caught you out a little bit there. So I met Matt just last week through the Smart Building or Start for Smart group. And one of the really interesting conversations that's come out of that is whether we should be focusing on, what they actually identified is some people in the smart world are looking at protocols, focusing on the protocols, and others are coming at it from a platform perspective. And both of those things are equally important. And Trigger's one of the solutions, for example, that brings these things together. And it's complicated, and I'm learning a lot about it at the moment. But would you like to just explain what Trigger does just for a moment, please, Matt?
Yeah, of course. I can give you a very, very brief intro. I mean, Trigger is a building operating system or middleware. I think the description is still up for discussion, according to the Start for Smart group at the moment. But yeah, so Trigger basically is a digital layer. So we have created a conceptual meta language, if you like, or translation language, which will talk to any hardware, software, or IoT, old or new. And so we're beginning to work with, or the conversation around BIM is from a point of view of supplying the data from every single different device. Now we're hardware agnostic, obviously. So we have no capex cost at all. We come in, like I said, as a digital layer, and what we look to do is sync with BIM, if you like, bidirectionally, so that we can, any changes to your BIM model will be updated straight away into your building, and the way we read devices and how we understand those devices and where those devices are, and then obviously give you the data back relating to how those are working, if they're working, if there are any potential faults, and then we can link also directly to CAFM systems and to front end sort of tenant engagement apps and things like that. So we work on the occupier side as well from a point of view, an operational frictionless workplace environment. But our idea is to make sure that it doesn't matter what you have in the building or how old a building is. All of the data is completely understandable and actionable, because we're also able to, using AI and scenario-based design, create scenarios so that the building operates depending on changes in its environment internally and externally, whether that be occupancy, whether that be the temperature, whatever it is, basically.
So thank you very much, Matt. So
Thank you.
What we're hoping to do is, if this sort of thing is of interest to you, either maybe to understand how it's how it could be a potential value going forward, both from what Paul's shown earlier. Another part of what Unify does is tracking where people are in the building as well. So that's an important part of things. But the point is, there's going to be a range of these different types of applications, and it's a matter of how they get glued together. And to do that, they've got to have good quality information about what assets are in the building and what the systems are and what spaces they're supporting. So that comes back to the work that Nick and I have been doing over many years, and that's looking at how can we get good quality asset information at handover, and also then keep it up to date. Okay, Richard, do you want to go to Q&A? Are there any questions on that at all? You're on mute, Richard.
Right, are you not doing data engineering?
Not for now, no. Carry on.
Not for now.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Well, I was trying to get us
Has
back.
anybody got any
I was trying to get
questions?
us back on the agenda, Richard. Yeah.
I appreciate that, so am I. Has anybody got any questions? Okay, anybody got, right. Okay.
Olu,
I,
can you not
Olu.
see Richard? Yeah.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Sorry, I just want to ask if the models here in the UK are still in compliance with the approved documents B, which is for fire safety, because I believe I noticed most of the models are not in compliance with the approved document B, which is for fire safety.
I didn't quite understand, Olu. Are you saying that which models are you talking about?
So we have a standard called approved documents B, which is for fire safety in the UK.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, so I'm not so sure if most of the models designed by different companies are still they complied with the standard, because we've got a lot of fire standard in the approved documents that is being published in the UK.
Well, certainly they should be following the standards, but I think you're probably quite right that there will be quite a lot of models that don't. So, yeah, if that's the point you're making.
Yeah.
Nick.
Just to say that Building Smart has published regulatory information requirements, which at an international level says what information you might add in a model and what property names you should use to support that. But since the DECOM project, which is probably 5 years ago now, I don't think any work has been done to publish recommendations for UK information requirements to support any of the regulations. So I think it's something that you would have thought would have come out of this group and other groups to do that, but instead most of the discussions have reverted to documentation. And I think, the previous question was raising exactly that we haven't finished that exercise, the implications of data for regulatory compliance.
Sorry, Nick, following in from Fiery and the fallout from that,
yes,
NEMA, in terms of Casey, was supposed to be taking that forward and publishing exactly what you said to resolve that. Whatever happened to that work?
Well, I can't give you a straight answer to that. It's still on the list of ongoing projects. The lack of progress I find disappointing, but I'm not part of it.
Right, thanks.
Okay, I've got a couple of points from the chat. Ava, are you there? Ava.
Hi, Richard. Yes.
Hi, you put a point in the chat about handover information. Would you like to share that?
Yes, I agree with the fact that we have all these platforms which create digital twins to monitor the data. But the important aspect is that the information that you get at handover is what is going to go into these smart building apps. And if that information is not streamlined, then that's not quite appropriate to feedback into those digital twins. So that what I am focusing on. Concern is that sometimes the designers and subcontractors, they often run down to scope gap issues regarding who should provide this fire safety data. For instance, like even for builders' voids, it is important to know which builder's void, which fire stopping element has been proposed in those locations. But sometimes it just goes down that is it responsibility of the M&E contractor or is it the responsibility of the architectural designer? So that's something that we need in this industry to resolve, basically.
Okay, cool. Yes, I think we can. I think we can all agree with that. Margaret.
Yeah, I just wanted to contribute to that because I put a response to Arthur in the
Yeah.
chat. Because I, you know, you see how we're seeking to adopt the Power App tools that I think have been presented here before. George knows about the tool Building Safe. If you go to their website, they've got tools there. There are other tools, I know. The responsibility is on that designer that did that design to provide the evidence and make it available to the client. That information should be part of the client's employees' requirements, should be part of the project execution plan, should be part of the contract documents. We're missing a trick as clients. I mean, I know that. But the main thing is we must get that information from every designer and every contractor. So the designer provides the drawings, they check the as-built drawings that the contractor's done, make sure, because some of my designers, that's not what I designed. You know, you put it in wrong. They often check the as-built drawings and the specification is as not the one that the contractor changed, and then make sure that that's what goes into health and safety file and into the O&Ms. Every designer should be given the opportunity to put into the client's system what they designed and sign it off that it is in compliance with the building regs. And every contractor, the same, it's been installed, whether you're M&E, structural, you know, whatever you are, electrical, you're the contractor, you're competent, you know, you've got the association accreditation and so on, and then you sign, I've put this in to that part of the building regs, it complies, and I've installed it, sign here. These tools are available. I can't understand why we're not grabbing hold of them so that we can make sure that everyone at source, the designer or contractor, you put it in, and then the principal designer, building regs, principal contractor, building regs, checks, it's gone in now, tick, and then the client can do the declaration. It's simple, but I can't understand why we're not grabbing hold of that as an industry. Let every person stand for themselves. You design something, it's to that building reg. You've installed something, it's to that building or to that particular guidance or whatever. And you sign as such, and you put that into the client system, and then the client's got every confidence that what's been installed is kosher and it can then be, you know, signed off by the
Yeah,
client.
absolutely.
Yes.
We're having too many
Absolutely.
clients signing stuff off. They don't know what they're signing off. They haven't got the evidence. And, you know, and obviously we're at sea, obviously, with the building control profession. But the main thing is we must use some of these tools and they're available now. Thank you.
Adrian.
Hi, I just want to add my 5 cents to it. It's easy to talk about design teams, contractors to deliver this. I think we need to start to talk about the client. Many oftentimes we really don't have anything from the client side. It needs to be coming from the top. All these requirements, there is the specification in ISO 55001 for the strategic asset management plan. That includes the asset information strategy. Often we don't have anything from that side. That should form based of the OIRs, AIRs. Often we don't have anything from that. So we need to basically make up everything from scratch as BIM professionals at the beginning of the project. And that's where the gap is. Not necessarily at the end, but at the beginning, I would say.
I'm probably going to
Absolutely.
cover, or Matt and I are going to cover a little bit of that on the next bit, Richard. So is it
Cool.
worth us moving on to that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Do you want to take that over then, George?
Yeah, Matt Wilkie, are you there, Matt? Matt Wilkie? Okay. Okay. I may need to deliver this, Richard, because Matt's
Oh, George, you again.
yeah, well, yeah, don't know where Matt is.
Well, I've got Matt and Barry for this. Is Barry here still? Barry's still here.
Yeah, but Barry is, yeah, so I hope he is.
Well, you
Barry?
get going. You know what you're doing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so sorry, I just need to share again. So we've got we've got quite an important working group set up that's a specialist group for PFI and PPP. And you may not be aware of it, but you may not be involved in PFI, PPP, but a lot of the things that we're doing here are going to be very significant on any type of building. So in this particular case, the main driver is something called PFI Handerback. So that's where you need to have a strong baseline of what you started with, and then to be able to track any variations that take place, to also do life cycle planning, and to be able to predict from a commercial perspective what investment needs to be made. And as part of the group, we're looking to use, well, people are already using scan to BIM, but actually, I think it's not really scan to BIM, it's scan to probably 3D. And what we need to do is turn that into asset information. And it's becoming significant because there's certainly talk about re-emergence of public-private partnerships on commercial on public sector projects. And the final thing there is that we're working with a group that's incorporating SFG 20 Uniclass NRM to come up with a series of standards that we can all work to, which I think is going to be really quite important. The PFI PPP working group is made up of quite a selection of organisations. We've got people like Albany and Infrared and Resolis, who are SPV managers. We've then got a lot of FM organisations like Mighty and Sodexo and Equans in that group as well, and a range of different contractors and service providers. So this is a group. If you're interested in PFI and PPP, then please feel free to join the put your name in the chat, put PFI PPP in the chat, and then we can go from there. A lot of what we're doing is revolving around what systems need to be demonstrated that are performing. And there's obviously a range of different standards that people are working to. Matt's point about this, which is what I'm really speaking to, is that we need to embrace these standards and also turn them into, apply them to the government standards, which the Cabinet Office is leading. And if we can use these, which the FMS 002, for example, is a standardized way of asset data being described. So rather than every client setting up their own systems, this is a proper hierarchy that can actually work through, and therefore it's going to make it a lot easier for software applications to plug and play into the right sort of data. So by doing that process, it means that we've got something that is then far more easily connectable and also can be searched by AI tools, for example. So this is, I'll just move on from that. So sorry, that was the point about this. So to be able to then look at this from a point of view of, rather than compartmentation, in this particular case, the location of the compartmentation on this project was just internal. And and it's not really providing very useful information. So what we're really looking to do is to make this so that we can then pull this information together. And schools, for example, is a key area that we're working on. We've got a group of schools that are now working collaboratively, people that are delivering schools, rather, to try and improve the quality of handover information to the caretakers and managers within the schools themselves. So if you are involved in either delivering or designing or even managing schools, then if you pop your name in the chat and you're interested in becoming involved in this, we've got quite a strong group together on it, and then we can bring that through. So I'm going to hand over to Barry because findability is an important part of what we're doing. So do you want to just cover that, Barry?
Yeah, sure. Oh, I'll share my screen. Hold on. Hi guys, how you doing? I'll just share my screen. Hold on. Bear with me 1 second. I've got the wrong one. Hold on. Can you see a slides thing there, guys?
Yeah, can.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm just trying to jiggle around with one screen where I am at the moment. Right, so what I wanted to talk briefly about with this whole process of 360 imagery and digital asset capture, but we could include scanning and scan to, as George says, scan to CAD. I prefer to call it that. But one of the things that we need to address is this thing here, which is where is the asset and findability. I mean, it's all well and good having lots of Excel spreadsheets and things, but what we need to be able to do as well is bridge the gap between the Excel spreadsheet or whatever format we're using and trying to find a location. And it's not just about us, it's about thinking about the stakeholders and the future users of this data information. So what is that better? Can you see it a bit better now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm working on a number of projects at the moment. Actually, one is for George's company, or one of their clients, where we're actually using it as part of a handover documentation. And the issue there is that they need to get information so they can manage the assets as they move forward. But in order to do that, what we're really looking at is trying to find ways that we can locate these assets in space and find them. And to do that, we need to look at a number of different issues. First off, what camera or capture method are we going to use? And then if we're going to make this successful, then we have to train non-photographers and non-specialists to be able to capture this. And then from there, we really need to look at what we do with the images, how we process and edit them. Just as a case in point, I've just done one job where, although the 360 images are really useful, they did want to hide certain elements of it, like the security cameras, and only make those available to a limited number of people. But the key issue we've got when we take lots of 360 images is we need to be able to figure out where it is. And in terms of room space, allocating a number of photographs to the room space, so then the assets are located by room space. Sometimes we need to do it to a coordinate system if we want to use a Revit model, and we want to use that as our major way of conveying information. Not sure that's absolutely the right way to do it, but some people want to do that. And then latitude and longitude for things like external utilities, because although we're talking a lot about fire doors and internal stuff, the building is an organic thing. It connects to the outside world. So we also need sometimes to do that. And then we also have to look at ways of updating information. How do we keep it current? Now, 360 imagery is a really quick and simple way of doing this. And this is a tool that, there's a number of tools out there. I've just done 3 colleges in Ireland using just this kit. And this is an Insta360 X5. It's sort of like the latest one. And we use some different brackets and different setups. This one has on the left has a light in it, so we can actually poke this up into suspended ceilings and get 360s of the pipework and stuff that's hidden away. And there's different targets and different tripods and things that we can use. But what we're trying to do here is really move into this idea of what I call smart 360s. A smart 360 is not just about a 360 tour. I mean, anyone can do that. If you're buying a house, you'll probably look at a 360 tour of it. A smart 360 allows us to do things with it. And just as a case in point, because I'm doing a project with Active Plan at the moment, is how we can actually, if we can, and there are obviously other softwares out there. Some are used for construction progress monitoring, things like QPIC, Stalix, OpenSpace. But then there's a whole slew of applications where you want to have the same information post-construction for facilities management, for safety, for fire safety audits, all sorts of things. But one of the ways, if you can link 360 photos to an asset library, there's a whole slew of things that apply. And it's all based around my thing is like hashtag findability is what if you put that into Google, you probably get me turning up. But one of the things we need to do is if we've got an asset library, then we can actually use a whole series, whether it's COBE, NRM, SFG, product libraries that describe the product and all its things. And the blue lines are ways that the blue circles, blue ovals there on side are just different ways of getting this information using 360 cameras or LiDAR SLAM scanners like Navis, or there's a whole slew of things coming out there. But by taking the information and then combining them with an asset library, and then there's obviously all sorts of different softwares you can use as well to do that. These are just a selection of the ones you might well have heard of. But by combining all those, we can then use smart 360s for a wide variety of applications. 360 capture, for example, is a basic tool that lots and lots of people can use just for progress monitoring or commercial stuff. I weirdly, well, it's not weirdly, but this happens all the time. I was commissioned to do a 360 survey of a college, and while I'm there, I came across another team doing 360 surveys, 360 photographs, and that was from the construction company who wanted to document for commercial purposes to say this is what they've done. And I've since found out there are 2 other 360 tours of the same place, one looking from the flooring contractor and one looking from the furniture contractor. As proof that things were delivered. But just to skip through this, because I know we're short of time. 360 to validate design. What was built? Is it built to the design? 360 is a really simple way of validating things.
Barry, I think you're gonna need to move on because we've only got a couple of minutes left.
Okay, well,
can you move on to show the what you did in Ireland?
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to have to try and share that screen. I didn't realize you want me to do that, George.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, okay. The stuff we did in Ireland, really, let me have a go and see if I can get it. Basically what we've done there, basically what we've done there is just taken 360 photographs known to cover pretty well every single surface that we've got. In each of the blocks, we had 5 levels, lots of plant on roof spaces and things like that. And the idea is to try and get a density of 360 so we can completely cover it. Now, in some cases, that was 1 photograph in a room. In some, it was a bit more to do that.
Barry,
big space. Yeah.
I'm sorry if I put you on the spot. I thought when you showed earlier you got it available. I think we're going to have to wind up in a minute.
Yeah,
Do you want
we are just going to have to move on now.
Okay.
There's one thing I did want to just highlight, because a lot of people weren't here at the beginning, and that is the Golden Thread Task Force that we're running. It's a cross-industry initiative looking at addressing gaps in fire safety information for buildings. We've got something over 100 professionals currently involved in that, looking at creating standardized, repeatable guidance. Now, if you want to get involved in that, just put task force in the chat. Put task force in the chat. If there's anything that particularly interests you on what we've covered today, which I know we've covered a lot, just put 1-to-1 in the chat, and one of our team will do a quick 15 minutes with you and clarify or personalize the take that you need on anything we've done. So just put 1-to-1 in the chat and we'll be in touch with you.
Richard, I don't know what's happening, whether it's just me, but I've just looked in the chat and there's no entries in the chat after 11 this morning until 10 minutes past 12. So it's
That's
missed
just
an
you.
hour.
That's you.
Is it? Okay.
Well,
No,
yeah,
it's not.
I think that's.
If that's just me, that's great. I just didn't want people to put stuff in the chat.
No, it's you, George. Don't worry about it. I've got it all. Yeah, normally I'm monitoring this all the time. So as I say, if you want to speak to anyone, one of our team, one of our steering committee about anything in particular, put 1-to-1 in the chat and we'll get back to you. Right, our next meeting is going to be the 29th of October, same time, same place. We'll get invites out to you very shortly. So have we overrun? No, we haven't overrun. Has anybody got anything they want to say before we close up? Anybody got anything?
Thank you for the meeting.
But if we've got 5 minutes, then Barry could perhaps finish off just what he was showing, if that's okay.
Sanjay's got his hand up. Sanjay.
Yeah, hello. Just wanted to share. This is one of the first forum for me. I recently picked up the BIM. Was quite interesting. I work for Vanderlande. We are completely into the different world. We are logistic automation companies, like for airports and warehouse systems. So most of the topics are not directly relevant, but the technologies which are being shared, like 3D scanning or asset management, are quite relevant. So really found it interesting and looking forward to next forums to see what I can learn from it. So thanks for the invite.
Excellent.
Thank you,
Well, you're welcome and see you again soon.
Barry, are you ready to just do a quick roundup?
I can do, yeah. Hold on a sec. Let me share my screen again. Yeah, going on, just talking about smart 360s and things. What we are trying to do is help people understand how they can bring 360s into their workflow and how they can use it. With that in mind, one of the things I'm happy to do, and I was going to suggest this as before anyway, is to offer a 360 boot camp to people who want to know how they can use 360 in their workflow, using some worked examples. I mean, we've got a number. I'm happy to work with George and show him how we can use 360s in Active Plan, but it could be anybody's software. If people are interested in that, just put maybe 360 Bootcamp in the chat, or please drop me a line anyway at barry@richpixel.com. I'm more than happy to share what we know in terms of training people or helping people or giving people advice. The main thing is the 360 image by itself is not much use. It's very pretty. You have to be able to find what's in it. Otherwise, you've just got loads of images that no one can use. So really, that's all I wanted to share at this moment in time. But if you want me to put on this 360 boot camp, I'm more than happy to do it. We'll do it with some worked examples, because I think that's the real way of showing people how it all works, and not just about walking around taking a photograph. The key thing about 360 is it allows people to map their assets and look at this point about findability. There's no point having all this information if the maintenance person can't find that particular lift, or that fire door, or that fire damper, or whatever it may be. And that's really what we're trying to figure out, how we can share that information. It applies in construction, it applies post-construction, it applies in facilities management, in governance, in safety inspection, and all sorts of things. And for me, I think it's a key skill. But the key is no point just having a 360 photograph. You have to know what to do with it and convert it into a smart 360. Does that make sense? Okay, I'll leave that there.
Okay, that's cool. Great. Well, thanks very much for coming. I know it's a lot to digest, but we can, as I say, if you're interested in learning a bit more about anything particular as pertains to yourself, just put 1 to 1 in the chat. Other than that, we will see you either at one of the 5 meetings next week or next month on the 29th. Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard, has people put in the chat anything about smart at all, just out of interest?
Yes.
Okay, good. Brilliant. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent.